Thank you.
I think we might have everyone back, but I don't know. Let's just assume. Assumptions are good on occasion. So moving on to our next agenda item. Our next agenda item is the election holiday bill, which I will. Which one of these is it? This one? Yes. So I will put up here for all of you to see. We've got plenty of co-sponsors and writers here. But I will open the floor to the original idea maker for this bill, or whatever you want to call him, Alex Lawrence. I assume he's floating around somewhere out there.
Hi, guys. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Before I get started, I was just, preparing my talking points for today and realizing that actually a year ago on the 11th, so tomorrow, I had presented on, similar legislation and I remember that day, getting the email from the university about, classes being moved online for 2 weeks, and like that was our last in-person WSA meeting that last year. So it's just crazy how things circle back, and I'm here again a year later presenting on similar legislation. But I'm just going to dive right in here. For those of you who do not know me, my name is Alex Lawrence. I am a fellow for the Campus Election Engagement Project, student member of We Vote, and chairman of philanthropy for Phi Delta Theta at WMU. This piece of legislation brought forward to you today is going to be discussing about recommends that Western Michigan University establishes a university-wide holiday on all federal and state general elections. This has been done previously, but it doesn't ever reach to, faculty senate is always shooting it down. So, we're not letting up. This is something that the students want to see at Western, and this is something that will benefit our Bronco community as a whole. I'm just going to share some numbers with you. I apologize for all of you who've been in WSA with me for many years. So you're going to hear some, familiar information, but bear with me. I'll run through it real quick. The National Study of Learning, Voting, and Engagement. We vote. The Western Michigan University is involved in that study that puts together our voter data at Western. So in 2018, voter registration at Western Michigan was 12,300 students. And voter turnout in 2018 was for the midterms, 2018 midterms, it was 6,889 students. So about half of the registered students at Western voted, which is great to see. Love to see more. And then the voting rate in 2014 was 18.5% among WMU students. And in 2018, it jumped up 16.1% to 34.5%. So we've seen an increase there. We are still waiting to hear back about our 2020 data. That should be coming hopefully later this spring. But yeah, so this bill, isn't just for students, to go vote on election day, but it's for everyone, for faculty, staff, students to really, participate in our democracy, get involved in, campaigns, go work, volunteer for campaigns that day, go volunteer for organizations, volunteer for ride shares to get people to the polls. This is something, that we all can do as a Western Michigan community to, help get out the vote and whatnot, and really be participating members of democracy. But yeah, I'm willing to open it up. I'm going to invite the Political Affairs Committee, the members who have I've worked with the past few months, to also answer questions as we see. But I'm up for any questions and discussion points.
And for reference, those who have worked on this were myself, Alicia Ewing, Brian Taylor, and Jesse Mutombo, I believe. There's no one else, right? So
And
those
Eric.
are
Eric.
And Eric, right? Yeah, Eric Effinger. Yeah, he came in towards the end. So those are all people who, if they would like to talk on it, can just freely talk. Go ahead, Vice President Effinger.
Speaker Shapiro, I just wanted to bring up that I did work with the committee on this, and we made sure to include a clause for any course that would have regulatory agency oversight, for example, flight training, ground school, any required nursing practicals, anything that really is not up to the university but is regulated by a higher body. And those courses would be exempt. So we would make sure not to interfere with those individual students' ability to attend a class that is required.
Senator Taylor.
Yep. Hold on. Sorry about that. Yeah. So when we first look at the bill, it looks more on paper about voting. And, the obvious argument is, well, we've got new means to vote, mail in, things like that. But, when you talk about the increase in civic engagement that we've seen year over year, this is a really good thing. And on top of just voting, this is a time to take that election day and do things like volunteer, do things like get other students or other people, involved in the political process. We've all got that old aunt, uncle, or grandmother, grandfather who refuses to do the mail-in voting. Maybe you go take them to the polls, but it's just a day, however you do it, to really get engaged in our democracy, our political process. Some of our international students or people who've lived abroad come from countries where we don't have this right. We don't have this privilege. So, in looking at this, don't think of it just so much as voting, but really a way to just continue that Bronco involvement and make sure we help others get involved in the democratic process. Thank you.
Secretary Gonzalez, you had a question for Vice President Effinger.
So I completely love this bill. Like, I'm all for it. The only concern I have is that there are many labs that fall on Tuesday and Thursdays. So like Eric said, that those students would be, wouldn't be penalized for not going, or it would just be canceled overall. However, in that same week, other students will also have the lab that you were supposed to have on Tuesday. So now I guess, like, have you guys gotten in contact with like TAs, whether or not those students who would have had lab on election day would have to make it up during finals week? Because during finals week, that's when we usually make up labs for students who missed it, or if for any other reason. But, because personally, I wouldn't want to have to make up a lab during finals week when I could have, done it earlier. So I don't know if you guys have gotten in contact with those TAs or any feedback on that issue.
I'll just respond on a quick clarifying point. We're not people that have in-person like required training and such, they are exempt from this bill, so they would still have to attend class on those days. Yes, so like, for example, FAA ground school labs that are deemed considered like required for an oversight agency, for example, they would still have to attend class on election day, but only those specific classes.
Okay, gotcha. I probably misunderstood you then. Okay, thank you.
Have we anyone else who might have a question? Assuming I didn't miss anyone. Seeing none, hearing none, we can move into discussion on this piece of legislation. Does anyone have any discussion points? Not seeing any of those either. All right, let's make. Oh no, Vice President Barada, since we have no senators.
I'm going to be super, super brief. I just wanted to repeat what I said to the committee right before we went into this. This is a piece of legislation that members of WSA have been trying to pass for about 5 years now, maybe even beyond that. And it has been passed before. So there is a long-term history of support for this initiative in WSA. As Alex mentioned, he passed this legislation last year, and going all the way back to, like I said, 2015, there have been variations of this legislation. But this is really the year where we have timed it extremely well to be able to appeal to the Faculty Senate and the Faculty Union, which is where this bill has consistently died or gotten lost within contract negotiations. So I just really want to encourage you all to support this bill, to continue this historic effort that's been going on through WSA, and recognize that this is something that other universities have implemented successfully. And it will really give us like a competitive edge to have this, to show that civic engagement truly is a priority to our university. It's something that matters to us, and it's something that we're going to put into our doctrine, into our calendar, to ensure that every student and faculty member, staff member have the opportunity to exercise that right. That's all I had to add.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence.
Also to add, I don't know if any of you follow what's happening in the U.S. government, U.S. Congress, but recently the House of Representatives passed H.R. 1 for the People Act. This is legislation to make it, to encourage, voting, making, getting rid of some of the suppressive parts of voting and making it a lot easier for people to participate in the democratic process. There's a part under that bill that is going to require universities to, like, say, hire a full-time staff member that's dedicated to civic engagement, and, really pushing for these universities to, make election day a university holiday, so that, students, faculty, and staff can go vote or hold educational get out the vote events. This is already coming. So, that's something we're also need to, let administration know. This is something that's coming, that's going to be coming from our US government. And if you get on track of it, on top of it now, you will be, you'll be first to get funding. So there's going to be, grant money that's going to be put behind this. So, I think it's in the best interest of the, students and the university to get behind something like this, because this is going to be coming regardless. So I just wanted to make that point, that there is a bill currently in the going through the US Congress right now that's going to make this stuff, this is going to become law. So just wanted to make that point as well.
All right. I'm seeing no other calls for discussion. No one else seems to want to discuss. So we can move right into voting then. I'll stop sharing. I assume Vice President Effinger, if you could pull that up for me, please.
Sorry, I didn't know if this could go through consent or not.
Oh, you're right. Oh, thank you. Goofy me. Could we get consent? Does anyone want a motion for consent or whatever?
Vote for consent.
Second?
Second.
Opposition, perhaps? Was that opposition? Did I hear someone say that? Hearing none, and seeing none, we will pass this by consent. Thank you, everyone. And we'll move on to our next item. Open the agenda up, share. Okay, so the next item is the Serf University bill, and so I will open that up to Executive Vice President Wright to speak on that. I'll also open it up. Here it is.
Hey guys. So basically, I hope you all have been able to see this by now, but I did float her out last week, gathering those signatures that you see there. But basically, this is a resolution, or sorry, university bill to try to get a savings account essentially for the student assessment fee. It definitely would have helped us this year, but we learned from our mistakes and we plan for the future. And that's my whole goal behind this. So basically, just a backup account that individuals would be able to, from the staff, agencies would be able to request funding for, with potential for other student resources to be aided as well, like counseling services, or if dollars are needed elsewhere. Um, Basically laid out this bill just to provide the structure, just like to set up the account with an initial deposit of $100,000 from the allocations deposit account, since there were not many funds provided to student organizations this year, and that's our largest account, with at least 3% negotiable with the other staff agencies to go into this account every deposit period, with only 30% of it being able to be utilized every year. So it keeps the account established, essentially. Yeah, with that, I'll take questions. The last part of the bill, just saying that the bylaws and the administrators are still to be determined. This bill is not exhaustive. It's just meant to just give us something that we can work from, and then those documents will require a more hefty approval.
Starting a speakers list, guys. Let's get some questions. Let's get some discussion. All right, seeing no questions, we can move into discussion on this bill. Let's discuss. There we go, Mr. Chris Sly. Thank you.
Just maybe folks, Jacoby, could you explain a little bit about the student assessment fee? Maybe folks might not be completely familiar with it.
Sure. I'm going to explain the student assessment fee, even though the expert's right next to me. But basically, the student assessment fee is a student fee that we imposed upon ourselves years ago. Total is $50 a semester. $8 goes to sustainability. The 42 other dollars is a pot. I think it gets allocated several different places. The department, the Office of Student Affairs, Office of Student Engagement, the Graduate Student Association, WSA gets a portion, allocation gets a portion, the Campus Activities Board, Sports Club Council, and the Student Media Group. They all get a percentage of the staff. And that's basically how we have our funds to operate. So the WSA internal budget that you guys approve, that's staff funding. All the allocations dollars that we give out to organizations, that's staff funding. So this would basically just be a savings account for that, just as a backup. And I believe Chris has told me that this has been talked about before, but never implemented. So when a better time than now? How was my explanation, Mr. Sly?
If you were my son, I would say, well done, son.
All right, you heard it here first, folks.
Senator Ewing.
This is going to be really repetitive, but could you just really quickly reiterate what this would be used for? Just like super quick summary.
Yeah, so basically a savings account, so you can dip into it when you need to. Like right now, the student media group is like on the verge of maybe needing some assistance, so this would be great for them to, not go into the red. They could try to get some of this funding that way, or any of the other staff partnerships. I can't say specifically on whether or not it would be able to be used like outside of the SAF group, because that would be for a group to determine when we write the bylaws and how we administer those funds. But I don't see why not, why it couldn't be used, outside of the SAF group if we're all in the green and we see a need for expanded counseling resources on campus, or, dollars somewhere else to benefit all of our students. So.
Thank you.
Vice President Morris.
Cool. Can you just expand a little bit about, I know it says that it'll be determined by other legislation, but are there ideas already for how that group will be formed, for the dispersal process?
Absolutely. So I definitely want to be inclusive of all the relevant parties. So all the staff organizations, I definitely want representation from them, and then definitely want some members of the WSA legislature involved as well. It doesn't have to be a small group, doesn't have to be a large group, but just people that are interested in providing something that's going to be beneficial for the rest of our students as we move forward.
Any other questions? No. Okay, we can move into discussion, assuming people want to discuss. All right, not seeing any discussion. We'll move into voting. This regards money, so right, we vote.
Yeah, it doesn't pertain to our money, but it does pertain to money, so I would request for a vote.
Vote. Okay. Right into voting, please, Vice President Effinger. We have 100%. Everyone's in favor. That's awesome. I was just informed that we went over time, much to my surprise. I guess I wasn't keeping. I did not think an hour and a half passed that quick. We can motion to extend, or we can motion to table everything until the next meeting. But there is, of course, that election announcement that Vice President Eagle wants to get to. So we can do certain kinds of motions here, but I'll leave it to you all.
Motion to
exhaust. Yep, I'll defer.
Was that a motion to exhaust too from whoever said that?
I said motion to extend. Yeah.
Extend. Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Consent.
Point of order, for extend for how long?
Yeah. Well, we had, okay, yeah, extend for how long? Would you like to exhaust, or?
Can I change it to exhaust?
Yeah. Motion to exhaust. Second that motion to exhaust. Anyone?
Second.
All right. Consent.
Consent.
Opposition? Hearing none, seeing none, we will exhaust the agenda. So next on the list is the legacy establishment. We'll move on to that one. That one is also Executive Vice President Wright and Senator Mutombo. So I will open it up to those two.
Senator Mutombo, do you want to go first, or you want?
No, you can go first.
All right. Basically, we have sent out 2 editions of the legacy, and we're working on our 3rd. It's in the process of being approved right now. But we just want to solidify that. Why not put it in writing that we're going to have this as a means of communication with our students going forward. So that's basically the purpose of this document, to just retain this avenue of communication. Pretty simple.
We'll take, hang on, questions. Seeing no questions, we'll move into discussion. Seeing no discussion, we can take consent on this if someone wants to.
Consent.
Second,
Second.
Second.
opposition. Hearing none, seeing none, we'll consider that passed by consent and move on to our next agenda item. Sorry, I'm writing stuff down. Next agenda item, that's the election announcement. So I will open it up to Vice President Eagle.
Thank you, Dakota, and thank you guys for making that motion to add that to the agenda. I am going to keep my part of this as brief as possible. As we all know, last week some information got dropped at Senate that probably confused all of you. The EPC has met and made a decision regarding the elections and the ballot with insight from both slates in question, as well as getting some insight from Chris, our advisor. After all of that, the EPC has decided that the Morris Effinger campaign will appear on the ballot for elections. Also, there will be two debates in one occurring next Wednesday, the 17th, which will be available for y'all to watch on YouTube or live streamed on our Instagram. The vice presidential debate will start at 6 p.m. next Wednesday. The presidential debate will start at 8 p.m. next week. They'll both be an hour long with an hour break in between. And I would like to turn the floor over to Alexis to she's got some things she'd like to say.
Fantastic. Yeah, I'll keep it brief in the sake of time, but just wanted to say very appreciative of the EPC making a determination, and Eric and I are very thrilled to be on the ballot. I had some more preps, but we're like 6 minutes over at this point, but so excited to be here and just remaining on the ballot. I appreciate you all.
I assume that's it, unless anyone else has anything. Cool. Awesome. Next is notes from the senators, if anyone has anything they want to talk about. Very time constricted, this one, because we're over. Hearing and seeing notes from cabinet.
I'll make this really, really quick, but I just want to say that I'm very grateful and thankful for everyone because the prom waitlist is now up to 23 individuals, which means we have far exceeded our initial goal of how many people signed up. So thank you all for your hard work and dedication.
Awesome. Anyone else? President Taylor, or well, excuse me, Vice President Theory.
Emma Barada just dropped it in the chat, but I will say it with my words as well. Please RSVP for dinner with the delegates. We're not actually serving dinner, but we will have Sweetwaters from 2 to 4 next Friday, March 19th. I think I got those dates and times right, on Miller Plaza. Please RSVP by this Friday, the 12th, on Experience WMU, and the link is in the chat. And I will be there. It will be my first time at campus in about a year. So I'm a little bit nervous, but I hope to meet some of you in person.
Cool. President West.
Just two things. Shout out to Senator Lewis for hosting a amazing conversation yesterday, and being one of the first senators to actually host a conversation. Leslie, I saw your name on the sign up form too, and she's hosting a conversation pretty soon. So shout out to them for being extraordinary and keeping the WSA Hour podcast alive. Also, VP Spayman is not here to explain our project that we have, or our event that we have coming up on Thursday, but I just dropped the link in the chat. We'll be hosting an environmental justice panel this Thursday at 4 and next Thursday at 4. This conversation tomorrow, didn't know Thursday was tomorrow, will be centered around explaining what environmental justice is and how that intersects with environmental racism. And then next week's conversation will be more about environmental racism and how you all as students can be advocates in your own backyard, because I don't know if it's just me, but I'm definitely scared about our earth eating us up in 10 years. So I definitely would encourage everyone to attend this event to learn about environmental justice and how to be an advocate. And then we're also going to have an action component with it. And maybe this can be a little bonding project we can have as a team, but to make and paint rain barrels for the Kalamazoo community, because we all know that flooding problem we have is a real issue. And with that, I yield.
Great. Did I miss anyone? Please speak up now. Not saying it. All right, then. So we don't make the lives of the house any harder. Motion to adjourn at 5:39. Anyone?
Make a motion to adjourn at 5:39
Second.
p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Consent?
Consent.
Opposition? Awesome. We're adjourned at 5:39.